Every day, millions of people scroll through endless streams of digital noise, searching for clarity, direction, and truth in a chaotic world. But the most profound blueprints for navigating human life, culture, and leadership weren't written by modern influencers or shifting societal trends. They were recorded thousands of years ago in the pages of the Holy Bible. Welcome to Scroll to Soul. We don't just read the text. We decode the real-world execution strategy for the modern era. If you are ready to stop being a passive observer and start building a life rooted in deep wisdom and intentional action, you are in the right place. You are now among the practitioners. Let's unlock today's blueprint. When we analyze the longevity of generational trusts, multinational empires, and family wealth, we inevitably study the structure of the modern family office. A family office is not just an investment firm. It is a highly sophisticated governance framework designed to manage and distribute assets across multiple generations while preserving family unity and preventing internal disputes. It sets the absolute rules for who controls the capital, how disputes are resolved, and how leadership transitions occur. Long before the concept of the family office was institutionalized in modern wealth centers like Zurich or New York, a revolutionary precedent for equity distribution, asset protection, and succession planning was established and codified in the wilderness of Sinai. This permanent framework is recorded in the 27th chapter of the Book of Numbers. To fully grasp this blueprint, we must look past the historical tribal setting and focus entirely on the structured legal mechanics. The chapter presents a dual-layered case study. First, the restructuring of equity inheritance laws petitioned by 5 forward-thinking sisters, and second, the execution of a flawless leadership succession plan as Joshua prepares to succeed Moses. These 2 events form the ultimate guide for any modern practitioner who wants to build an unshakable family office, design fair equity models, and secure a seamless transition of power. The 27th chapter of Numbers opens with a major operational crisis that threatened to disrupt the economic foundation of an entire family line. As the nation of Israel prepared to distribute the conquered lands of Canaan, the allocation was strictly organized around patriarchal lineages. But a massive structural blind spot existed in the current legal framework. A man named Zelophehad, from the tribe of Manasseh, had died in the wilderness without leaving any sons. Under traditional inheritance laws of the day, land assets could only be transferred to male heirs. Because Zelophehad had no sons, his name, household identity, and entire real estate allocation were set to be permanently liquidated and absorbed into neighboring families. His 5 daughters, Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah, refused to accept this passive asset deletion. They recognized that the existing system contained a flaw that would permanently strip their family of its generational wealth. They refused to let an outdated policy dictate their economic destiny. Instead of retreating in silence or resorting to emotional protests, they executed a highly organized, professional legal petition. They stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the tribal chiefs, and the entire assembly at the entrance of the tent of meeting, the Supreme Court of the nation. These women presented their case with absolute strategic precision. They argued that their father did not die in rebellion, but simply of natural causes, and delivered their direct pitch. Why should our father's name disappear from his clan because he had no son? Give us property among our father's relatives. They were demanding a permanent real estate allocation, claiming their legal right to a share of the land. This represents a vital lesson in systemic auditing and proactive asset protection. In the modern business environment, legacy structures often contain hidden blind spots that can disenfranchise key stakeholders. A novice manager will simply submit to a flawed process, because that's how we've always done it. But a true practitioner audits the governing structures of their enterprises and families with a critical eye. When you identify a systemic gap that threatens your family's capital or organizational integrity, you do not remain silent. You organize your data, step into the boardroom, and advocate for structural reforms that protect equity and secure long-term survival. Upon receiving this petition, Moses did not rely on subjective opinions or personal administrative biases. He brought their case directly before the Creator. This was a demonstration of elite, humble leadership. When a system faces an entirely new edge case, a leader must never force a hasty decision. You must elevate the issue to the highest source of truth and governance. The Creator's response was immediate and absolute, declaring, "What Zelophehad's daughters are saying is completely right. You must certainly give them property as an inheritance among their father's relatives. This was a permanent, codified restructuring of the nation's estate laws. The Creator went on to establish a clear, structured waterfall of asset distribution that would govern the nation for generations. He commanded Moses to declare that if a man dies and leaves no son, his inheritance must transition to his daughter. If he has no daughter, to his brothers. Then to his father's brothers. And finally to the nearest relative in his clan. This is the first recorded, codified estate planning waterfall in human history, ensuring that no family's estate could be randomly seized, diluted, or lost due to an unexpected death. It established clear property rights and secure title chains for families to preserve wealth. For the modern family office, this codified waterfall serves as an urgent reminder of the necessity of formal estate planning and asset protection trusts. You cannot leave the future of your generational wealth to chance, hoping that your heirs will figure out the details of distribution when a crisis occurs. You must actively design and codify a clear, legally binding framework that dictates exactly how your assets, shares, and intellectual property will flow under every possible scenario. This includes setting up clear succession rules for family businesses, establishing trusts with precise distribution guidelines, and defining who holds voting power in the corporate structure. By codifying these rules while the sun is shining, you eliminate future legal disputes, protect your heirs from predatory external forces, and ensure that your hard-earned capital remains anchored within your legacy. When the boundary lines of inheritance are vague, internal warfare is inevitable. The second half of Numbers chapter 27 shifts from physical property to the critical process of leadership succession. The Creator announced to Moses that his administrative tenure was coming to an end. Instead of focusing on his own legacy or reacting with personal grief, Moses immediately directed his attention to the future stability of the nation. He petitioned the Creator to appoint a leader over the community so they would not be like sheep without a shepherd. This is the ultimate hallmark of a legacy-minded executive. Moses understood that his leadership was not a permanent title but a temporary stewardship. The true measure of his success was not just what he built during his lifetime, but whether the organization could survive and thrive after his departure. True leaders don't build monuments to themselves, they build successors. The Creator commanded Moses to take Joshua, a man in whom is the spirit of leadership, and publicly commission him before Eleazar the priest and the entire assembly. Moses was commanded to give Joshua some of his own authority so that the entire community would obey him. Moses executed these instructions with absolute perfection. He did not attempt to cling to power or delay the transition. He publicly laid his hands on Joshua, commissioned him before the people, and transferred the mandate of leadership with total transparency. This public commissioning is a vital operational principle for any modern corporate board or organization. Succession planning cannot be treated as a secret, last-minute decision. Such secrecy breeds immediate corporate instability, political infighting, and strategic drift. True succession requires a deliberate, transparent transition process. You must identify your successor early, invest heavily in mentoring them, and gradually transfer operational authority while you are still present to support them. Knowledge without application is just intellectual entertainment. A life of true impact is built entirely through execution. And that brings us to today's practitioner challenge. Look at your own path, your decisions, and your interactions this week. Identify the single biggest area where passive habits are holding you back, and actively apply the exact scriptural framework we unpacked today. Drop a comment below with the word applied once you've put it into action. Let the community know you are executing, not just listening. We are the practitioners. If this blueprint brought high-value perspective to your life, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this with someone building a lasting legacy. In our next video, we are diving into another foundational principle. Until then, keep executing.